Depends on who you ask, but red is not the most loved color in the world. For example, my uncle's first car was a gallant Mitsubishi and was red in color. We all loved that car. It was the best thing to have happened to us at the time. When we drove into the neighborhood, you would know, because there was only one red gallant Mitsubishi and it was ours. But I imagine that there were times even my uncle hated the color red. Like when my auntie, his wife, was pregnant, and after a long, hard journey, she complained her legs were weak. Then it happened. She saw red. My auntie knew right away what this was, red. She started shedding tears. Why red? My uncle was confused. Red. Let's hurry to the hospital, but auntie couldn't walk. Red. Neighbors rushed in. Oh, red. Get her into the car. Carry her. Oh, more red. The kids stayed at home, but uncle sped off in his red Mitsubishi. Hours later, he came back to say we had lost the most precious thing in my auntie's tummy because of red. Red, the color of blood. Blood, the emblem of life. Life, what comes before death. Death, the consequences of sin. And sin, that thing in all of creation that shows itself in death and brokenness, decay and emptiness. Even we feel it too, because we are not the first people to have ever seen red. Long ago, there was a man called Cain who was so jealous of his brother that God told him, hey, sin is lurking at the door of your heart, ready to pounce on you. But what did Cain do? He threw his doors wide open and let sin in. He called his brother out to the field. With one stroke of the blade, brought him down and watched as his blood flowed like a stream. That was the first red ever. And that was when Cain knew that God takes red seriously. That in every blood spilled was a tongue that speaks, and this time it shrieked. Far and loud it screamed. It cried for vengeance. From the ground it shot up to the skies, right to the judgment throne and into the heart of God. Abel's voice was piercing. It had questions like God, can you not see? Can you not see that the stroke from Cain's hand was really aimed at you? Can you not see how the serpent has once again bruised your heel? Will you watch in silence as creation groans, as the earth which you formed now swallows up the blood of one of your own? Will you stay cold? Will you not strike back? Do you not see that this is the start of much greater evil to come? What will you do to purge your world, oh God? But if God would demand blood for blood, what blood would be able to satisfy his wrath and avenge his anger? Would Cain's blood be enough, or that of his descendants? Would it be able to purge the earth or cleanse any soul of the darkness within? The answer is no. So in God's justice, he spared Cain's life, but placed on him a curse that was far worse. Cain would go far from the land, hidden from God and separated from his presence by a wall. Meanwhile, creation went on a downward spiral. The consequences of sin were even more evident as people rebelled against God. They trampled on sacred things and hurt their fellow human. They even attempted to build a tower that would reach the heavens, as if they could somehow knock on heaven's gate and demand that God left his throne for them. God watched as his creation strayed away from his presence and stayed away because he could never match his holiness. By this time, the sins of man have multiplied. Abel's blood had joined forces with a host of others in a forceful, loud chorus, demanding judgment, demanding justice, demanding death. And so God came up with a brilliant plan to purge the earth. Blood will be spilled, but not that of another human, no, but of bulls and goats. Though not powerful enough to wash away sins or silence the voices of condemnation, it will have to do for a time. Every time God's people sinned, and every year, the priest would take spotless goats, slaughter them and sprinkle the blood to make them clean. But right after, the people would leave and go back to their sins. It was like constantly pouring salt on God's wound. No, imagine your ex, whom you still love dearly, comes to your DM and says, hi, just thought to check up on you. I know you still love me, but you can't have me. Bye. For how long? How many goats will be enough? The blood of bulls and goats were a constant reminder to God that the people he loved will forever stay hidden from his presence, behind the veil. Because as Hebrews 10:4 says, it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take sins away. So whose blood will ever be worth it? What will be red enough to outdo the stain and shame of sin? If God would demand blood for blood, what blood would ever be enough to satisfy his wrath? The answer is none. Well, none other than the blood of God himself. So, at the appointed time, Jesus, the Son of God, came to earth and offered himself as a lamb to be slaughtered. They lifted his body to heaven as if presenting him before the judgment throne and daring God, saying, God, will you be willing to pour out your wrath on your only begotten Son? Can you do it. And the Lord responded. He did not restrain his mercy. He did not hold back his wrath. When the blood of Abel kept crying out for vengeance, the blood of Jesus thundered back. It resounded from the wounds of the great I Am. It was louder, greater, fiercer. It pierced through the inner courts to the judgment throne and caught God's ears. Just when we thought the veil that separates us from God will forever be in one piece, Jesus came and broke it in two. His blood is red enough to silence every accusing voice, red enough to speak better things than vengeance, red enough to reach back to Cain and forward to us, to cover every wound, every wrong, every cry for justice ever risen from the ground, red enough to make a way where sin has built a wall, red enough to bring us home. So when you think of red, think of Jesus, bleeding, loving, redeeming, because now red means hope.